So this afternoon, I am delighted to go ahead and start off this celebration that we're having after having this amazing exhibit here for the last couple of months. It's just been extraordinary. But I'm going to cut to the chase and invite my colleague, the Senior Curator for Craft, Design, and Fashion, Annie Carlano, to come up. And I also would like to do a shout out to Laura and Mike Grace for their amazing support that made this exhibition possible here at the Mint.
Thank you, and wow, this is amazing, hermanos. As Cynthia mentioned, we have had the exhibition Collidoscope here for several months, and it has been so popular with our community, so extraordinary, the impact it has had on our staff, including our security team, our cleaning team. We have not witnessed anything like this ever. So at this closing program, come on down, people are still coming. This closing program celebrates the dynamic and exhilarating work of the two rock stars of the glass world, Einar and Jamex de la Torre. Their work challenges us, delights us, and forces us to look closer at the world around us. Born in Guadalajara, Mexico, and now living and working on both sides of the border, the brothers bring a truly bicultural perspective to their art. Their journey from a Catholic school in Mexico to a beach town in California created a creative tension that has defined. We had a wild party last night, excuse me. That's why I'm reading my phone. So where was I? That has defined their maximalist aesthetic. They have resisted being categorized, instead reveling in their freedom as Mexican-American, California-based mixed media artist. Working together since the 1990s, the De la Torre brothers have mastered the art of blown glass, but their creativity hardly stops there. Their work is an addictive, that's a Freudian slip, an additive process. I told you it was a wild and crazy party. A magnificent collage of layered materials and meanings. By combining glass with resin, lenticular prints, and discarded material culture, they create kaleidoscopic works that are rich with symbolism and visual storytelling. They draw inspiration from an eclectic range of sources, including ancient American artifacts, Mexican folk art, Roman Catholic iconography, European art history, and consumer culture. In the spirit of the Rascache movement, using everyday lowbrow materials to create something powerful, the De la Torre brothers transform kitsch into contemporary. They challenge us to reconsider our perceptions of art, beauty, and even history itself. So now, let's give a warm Charlotte welcome to our friends, Einar and Jamex de la Torre.
First of all, can you hear me? Thank you, Annie, and Jen, and the Mint, and the Graces. We have been maybe I have to speak louder. Anyway, I said some thank yous, and I think we do want to thank the whole community. We have been received warmly, and it's been really, really wonderful. We've really enjoyed our stay here. We look forward to someday coming back to Charlotte and the Mint. And first of all, as far as our practice, it's really hard to reduce it for this talk. So we're going to touch upon a few things because we do artwork that is, object-based. We do installations in museums, and we also do public art, and they all have sort of separate needs. But anyway, we'll start with our practice in terms of the border.
Yes, this on?
We just get it close, really close.
Oh, okay, hi. So what you see up there is our studio in Ensenada, Mexico, and we have a base in San Diego too. So the fact that we cross the border weekly and constantly, it informs a lot of where we come from, because that's in addition to the fact that we were immigrants as kids to Southern California, to Orange County. So we went from Catholic schools to beach schools in California. So it was a wonderful juxtaposition that still informs our work.
So if you can imagine a Catholic school, all-boy Catholic school, and then we're in in the Dana Point, California, and there's girls in hot pants and miniskirts. Yes, this informs our works, even to this day.
So the
So
last
the
one was-
border. Sorry. It's a really strange construct. So that is Tijuana on the right side, and San Isidro leading to San Diego on the left. That is where the border meets the Pacific Ocean. We cross that border twice a week, once going down, once going up, more or less regularly.
And you would think Baja California is all desert, but where we live is much more like Central California, with large live oaks in our backyard.
And we're in the Valle de Guadalupe, which is really kind of the Napa Valley of Mexico. Very good wine, very good restaurants. It's turned very foodie.
This
So
is La Belle Epoque, a kinetic piece that has two different motors, so two different wheels that move it two different paces.
And these images are from where this show started. So this show started at the Cheech Museum of Chicano Art and Culture in Riverside, California. And you can see there's the brick in the background. That's that part of the gallery. They remodeled the central library, and they did a wonderful job for that center. And every time we go, it's full of people visiting, which is wonderful to see, because we do need different voices, and this is a museum that is about the Latinos, and in Los Angeles, the voices are there, and it's great to see that it's being supported.
This one is soy beaner in the two senses of the word. Soy in Spanish, I am a beaner, or a beaner of soy. And it was a moment in time that everything was made in China. So all cultural items and implements were manufactured in China and therefore interpreted. But we were all buying them. So like the Virgin of Guadalupe all of a sudden had the wrong colors and was too white because she's supposed to be brown skin. And regardless, it affects.
And we collaborated with a poet named Timex from San Diego. In the middle, there is a TV monitor with his spoken word piece. Again, with a lot of, all the mixed media all around it. All the objects were stuff bought in dollar stores, so it was important to talk about material culture and how we sort of surrender the making, because it's no longer the cottage industry that makes your mementos. They're made elsewhere, which is, in the name of making it cheap, right? We don't really say this in terms of judging, because of course we buy these things ourselves to talk about. We talk about how the appropriation of imagery, we were willing to sacrifice, obviously, in order to get something a little cheaper, and we have to support cottage industries if we want them to survive.
So we're fascinated how material culture reflects who we are culturally.
So this is the 7th version of this exhibition, Collidoscope. It's been to several museums in Texas, Oklahoma, the Corning Museum, Sacramento, the Crocker. But when they were booking them all, the museum in San Antonio, Texas, named the
McNay.
McNay, they wanted the exhibition, but it was already booked. So they decided to grab us and do a different show. So we made an installation in their lobby, the AT&T lobby. We kind of transformed it with wallpaper, as you can see. And in the background, there's 5 lenticular pieces. And that was in the November of 23. And in the beginning of the year, we did a new installation for them of the regular Tobin Gallery, which is 7,000 square feet. So at the same time as this was touring, we made a whole entire different exhibition. Some existing work, but a lot of new stuff. So the lenticulars this is the way that we get the GIFs files from the printers. So that's what happens when you move sideways, and that's how we approve, it's approved to be approved. So this is about castas. These pieces are now part of the El Paso Museum of Art collection. And they're like 2 by 3 feet, and they're talking about how instead of the casta paintings, having a version, if you're familiar with them, it's about the mixes of races commissioned by the crown, the Spanish crown. And it was kind of like what happens when you mix races, which is they're kind of atrocious in many ways. It's about basically your level in the caste system. So our take on it was that the mixture is a nopalero. It's a fighter, and the new breed is basically the breed of survival, like a nopal plant. It's prickly, it's strong, and it's a superfood, by the way. So this one is one of the few that are in the exhibition that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, this is Feminencia, so it flips from the Tara goddess that sits in Ensenada, Mexico, to King Leopold, very worried by being surrounded by this strong woman.
So a little bit about lenticular. I'll describe it very briefly because people want to know how this effect is done. It's an old technique that was around way before us. They used to call it the Winkies. They were in Cracker Jacks and all of this stuff. Well, now you can obviously get a lot more going. Believe it or not, that image that you would see in the show is actually one print. You cut it into very thin little lines, take half the material out, and you put the other image in there. You put a lens in front of it. The lens has lines that are like little prisms. It's a parallax blocker, meaning that those lines are going to block one image, and then you move and you'll see the other one. The only thing these two images have in common are the eyes. The rest of it is entirely different. When the image has more in common, if you take the lens away, you can kind of see it because there's more material that is in common. But in this case, you take this lens off of it, which is just a 1/4 inch plexiglass panel with these grooves that work as a parallax blocker, you wouldn't be able to make any sense. It would be a scramble of lines. So it's a very analog once you print it. The good news is that you can make that same lens create an effect of depth. So it's not just the flip between these two images. The layers from Photoshop will also be expressed in there even though they're flat, the lens tricks your eye into seeing depth by appearing to have objects appear behind other objects. That's a very quick synopsis of what lenticular is about, and we can talk more about that after the talk if you wish.
A couple of pictures of our very favorite material, which is molten glass. And you might ask, why trouble yourselves with such a expensive, difficult craft? And it's hard to express how much of a pleasure it is as a sculptor and as an artist to get out a material that's practically liquid with color already in it and shape it. Of course, you can't touch it, but you can have all this help bringing you parts to add to your sculpture. It really is a beautiful moment, a rush. It's a lot of pleasure.
And these were taken 3 weeks ago. We were in Pilchuck School of Glass as artists in residence for session 5, the first session in Espanol, which is a nice new, hopefully a trend. The whole session was in both Spanish and English, but with a big emphasis on Espanol. We also have done a lot of work here nearby in Penland, and also quite love Penland very much, and look forward to going back someday. The first place we taught as well. And when we teach this glass technique of sculpture, but we also finish the works in mixed media, and that's part of how we teach by example. So when we're doing demonstrations, we're making our work to show them how they could make.
Here we're back at our exhibition at the Magnay in San Antonio. It's a gigantic space, almost like an airplane hangar, and we divided into 5 sections if you include the lobby that you already saw. This is the entrance to the first section, which is more museum gallery style, very traditional pedestals and wall pieces.
And we named the entire exhibition Upward Mobility, talking again about the castas again, class structure, and how the whole American dream is, of course, pulling yourself up at your bootstraps and all of those sort of nation-building myths that are still around and wonderful in some ways and maybe inaccurate in others. So this is our sculpture like you would have in this exhibition. They're figures that we make with blown glass. Often the bases are made out of cast resin, There's a nopalero that was inside of the lenticulars. We also made some glass wood. So here's one of the luchadores there, sort of challenging you to have some prickly pear.
And here you see other sculptures, but in the background you see some taxidermy pieces that hints the viewer to the next room. We were lucky enough to borrow a good 20 taxidermy pieces, and you'll see once we get to the next room why.
Large lenticular. The glass piece on the right is one of the larger ones we've made. It's a human heart turning into a prickly pear. And here you will, if the video was.
Well, there's no pockets that really add to today's sculpture. Just clearing our way.
And you see there the cougar in the upper right is a little, just a little tease of what happens in the next room. So after this room, you go through a corridor, and there you can see the cougars waiting for you to pounce on you. We do love wallpaper, and there are our designs, the wallpaper as well.
And this image is a process image. We were installing at the Magneo, and we were there a good month installing and finishing pieces.
So it's like 65 feet by 45 feet, this space alone. When they told us that the table that we were going to set there needed to have a sort of like a little base to keep people away from it a little bit, we decided to have them coated in mirror. And then we worked on the underbelly of the table. So you can see there how there's a reflection of it underneath. But no. Still, we're not done here. We're barely getting going. We made some we made some chandeliers. So yeah, we do lighting now.
So the premise with the big banquet table of the rich is, it's kind of like the Marie Antoinette moment, right? This disconnect of the super rich to what's going on with the world that we're having again, apparently.
But on the other hand, there's this sort of like sort of disgusting opulence, but you're also kind of sad that they didn't invite you. So there it is with appropriate lighting, the mood lighting. And we were using furniture from the McNay Museum, because the McNay is one of those museums that it was an old house on the hill that sort of got Frankensteinian sections added by the decade almost. And I love museums like that. The Philbrook, which this exhibition also went to, is one of those museums that is the house on the hill with the add-ons and the big gardens. So it's kind of fun to bring the furniture from the Lady McNay's collection into this, because it is, after all, how many museums. The idea of museums got started by it was a Wunderkammer or a Cabinet of Curiosities from, people that could afford to travel and bring things home. Like, the Victoria and Albert Museum. They brought some things home. And so we're using our regular work, if you will, also as part of the decor. So you see a lenticular in the back, the panels, the brightly lit panel with glass in front of it. And so those geese there are sort of leading you to the next room, because indeed there's more. Here's some more vignettes.
And this is the first time we take on making a big chandelier, and the chandelier is basically a structure hanging with a bunch of money bags with arms and legs, kind of encouraging you. So the whole table has to attract you and repulse you at the same time.
The other two chandeliers are kind of these arms that are have their wine bottles, so their revolution is a little more civilized with wine instead of beer. And these are the vignettes that we have on the table.
Somewhat alluding to human sacrifice, but they're ridiculous, so of course not. Yeah.
And there's the capitalist pig defecating money.
And in the next room, we showed up an installation that we recently produced for the ICA in San Diego. The whole idea is that there are two movie posters floating in space showing a monster movie. We grew up with the Godzilla movies in the 1960s in Guadalajara. And in one side, we have one monster that represents nature coming to get us with COVID or whatever, right? And the other side, we have a monster that's coming to get us with our own technology and our know-how.
And on the floor, we have a projection of a video. And the video is an intersection in Mexico City with the cars moving from the daylight even to the evening. And so it was really wonderful to see little kids stomping on these cars that are moving around, and people. And which is kind of the point. The point is that we're in between these two monster movies, and they're both, one of them is Quadzilla, so it's Coatlicue mixed with Godzilla. And she's upset that we're not taking care of the world very well, nature-wise. And on the other side is the Putin as a
Putin.
And he wants us to compete, to have the continue consuming oil, and that's also not going to fare well. So between these two posters, we are in the middle, and of course, the true monster is us. That's the whole point, is that we're the real culprit here, not these made-up monsters.
But of course, stomping on cars is kind of fun.
And in the last space, we have an older piece. This is a lunar lander that has been morphed with an Olmec head. We call this piece Colonial Atmosphere. Human scale, so that the astronaut, which is Coatlicue, is that saluting. It's pretty much human scale, so it gives you an idea. The Earth is, of course, burning. We're alluding to, billionaires trying to build rockets to go to Mars, instead of, trying to maybe work on making this, I don't know, this world's kind of nice, I don't know. I'm attached. It's really quite fitted and beautiful, and, atmosphere and things like that. So we're going to talk about some shows that we have in Europe. We have a show that's been touring in Europe. It started in Lommel, in Belgium. They had a tower that's about 5 stories high with a helix stairway that you can see. And we had some lenticular butterflies, monarch butterflies, that wink at you as you walk up the stairs. There was 300 of these going up.
And then the show went to Newcastle in Sutherland, England, to the Glass Museum there.
Sutherland, yeah. National Glass Center in Sutherland in the UK. Then it went also to Abeltoft in Denmark. Here we had Aarhus was the European Capital of Culture in 2017. 7 local museums got together and decided to do the cardinal sins. Abeltoft, which is the Glass Museum, wanted us, so that when they picked the sin out of the hat, it turned out to be sloth. So here is the Danish Museum that is inviting 2 Mexicans to talk about being lazy.
After we got over it, it turns out we have a lot to say about sloth, and it turned out to be such a fantastic theme that is the counterpoint to our obsession with a work ethic. We are so obsessed with work ethic, we forget to actually live. So it's a really good point that all the liberal arts require you to stop and think. Yeah, and you can't quantify that in terms of productivity, and we're obsessed with productivity. So anyway, yes, at that point, Mexico had the longest work week in the world, and Denmark probably the shortest. So
there's a lot of ironies, and not the least of which that on our mother's side, our grandfather was Danish. So it turns out we don't have that much in common with the Danish aesthetic. Go figure. So in each venue that this exhibition has been to 8 countries, we make work. So the last few versions, we actually start noting that this one was made in Germany, this one was made in Poland. So another thing we did in Denmark is we bought a pancho, the sleeping Mexican, a plaster one, $9 in Tijuana. And then we spent $300 to ship it to Denmark. And we put it on a Roomba. And you can see in the back there, one of the lenticulars that they commissioned was Sloth, which is in this exhibition upstairs.
Another view of the museum,
No,
which is
that one's Poland.
this one's Poland. Okay, yeah. We took
So,
the,
yeah,
the exhibition to Poland, and yeah, it looks similar.
the blue, this is the same blue.
Yeah.
So it's been again the last version is also in here. Here we are in Lille in France. We're part of a big fair called Lille 3000 Music and Art Festival. They do, I think, every 3 years. We made a version of the table with some wallpaper. There's another angle to that. Some images of Tijuana and the border in the back.
Boy, it's incredible how well they spend money in culture out in France. It's amazing.
And the last exhibition was in Marina Grande in Portugal. That's this image. We're looking at possibly taking it to Spain next year. We'll see. It was delayed 2 years by COVID, so we made a COVID virus right there with our wallpaper background and the glass piece in the middle. So we do sort of adapt it to the times, and COVID was very big in 22, I think it was.
Now we're going to show a little bit of our public art. We've done, 12 big projects by now, and this is a really large lenticular built into the building. It's 20 foot high, and it flips to an image. So this is in a hospital near LA.
In Downey, California. It's a hospital for spinal trauma, it's for also for
Infarto,
stroke.
okay.
So it's a rehabilitation hospital in Downey, one of the few in the nation that is very specialized. So we were talking about regenerating and sort of the connections that need to happen.
When you
Of course-
integrate the lenticular into the architecture, it really feels like there's a space there, so you are messing with a sense of space. So it works quite well. It's a 2-story high, so you can appreciate the piece at 2 different levels.
And outside, we did another piece for that hospital, which was about the same height, about 22 feet. It's a tree of life, very much affected by Mexican folk ceramic tree of life. But this one's done in cantera stone with a steel structure. And those flowers are ceramic flowers made by my brother's wife. My sister-in-law, Melise, is also a very well-known ceramic artist, and she made those for us. The idea here is that the tree of life mimics a spine and a rib cage. So here we have the tendrils in the middle, which are the nerves, and sometimes, of course, this is where you have spinal injury, right there. So it's both, and the base has got some sort of Mayan-influenced Art Nouveau feeling structures, but there's a lot of mechanical stuff, because we're also talking about prosthetics and the way that mechanical is used to aid and help people that have had life-changing events.
This is a light rail station in LA, in the Watts Compton station called Rosa Parks, and you can see Rosa Parks in the shade. The title is the second line. So when the sun goes through the parasols, you see the imagery in the floor.
So you can vaguely see on the floor that there's the mugshot of Rosa Parks is there. So it's in the screens, but it's also once the sun hits them on the floor. There's six parasols, 12 by 12 feet, and also 14 by 14 feet. And this is in the blue line and the green line in LA, where they converge in Compton.
This is a process shot of the installation that we did in the Corning Museum in Corning, New York. It's a complicated piece that starts with a big wallpaper, and we're going to show you a few pictures that show the process.
This was about a year ago that we were installing in Corning. This exhibition also went to Corning. It had already ended there, but we worked on the commission for them afterwards. Rather large. That's probably about 25 feet wide. You can see the cleat there. The white is the light panels for the lenticular. There's a lenticular in place. All the blown glass was made in their studios. That's the lenticular file that we got back from the printers that we showed as a proof. We're talking about nature on one image and more of the human or man-made objects on the other one. So there's that duality which appears in our work a bit. Water jet cut aluminum for the skirt all the way around it. You can see the glass pieces, and there's also some resin pieces in there.
It's a glass museum, so we decided that all the human hearts that go around this wheel have to have an Italian glass technique as a disease. So this is a big infectious thing that came to our country, contributing as immigrants, bringing Italian techniques.
So we call it, if I remember right, is Meteorito de la Influenza Veneziana. And it was basically how it's the virus of the influence from the Murano glass world. But influence, of course, is also influenza, which is from the same root, that you would be influenced into getting sick with influenza. And of course, Corning is in the middle of Amish and Mennonite, so it's really wonderful to see the juxtaposition of Mennonites coming in and looking at the work while we were working, and it looks like they're a little afraid.
This is a public art piece that we just finished in San Diego. It's a giant microscope in the health lab for the county of San Diego. So it's a microscope that has lenses that are eyeballs that look down at you, so you can actually stand under the table and see through the hole, and it's looking at you. So it turns the table around on who is the actual pathogen on this.
And the structure of it is water jet cut viruses. So when we lit up at night, you will see that shine through those little holes, that little filigree. There's coronavirus, the mumps, things like that.
And this year also we finished an installation at the Seattle Airport, Seattle International Airport, in a bathroom in the D wing. So we did 5 large lenticular prints.
Women's bathroom. There you can see the 2 images for that panel. You can see how the image varies as you move sideways. These are the digital files that were sent to us by the printers.
So lenticular panels are only like a quarter of an inch thick, and it gives you all this depth and layering, and that is what we like the most about the medium, is the fact that you can layer so much information in this panel. Just this summer we went to Oaxaca with the idea of working with a mezcal company to produce mezcal bottles in glass.
And by company we mean these guys.
Yeah.
So they took us through the whole process, invited us to eat with the family. It was really, really wonderful. We do love mezcal, but we really got an idea on how it's made. Those are the piñas of the mezcal. Once you cut the leaves off, they cut them into quarters or more if they're very big. The la quema that they're doing there, the burning or smoking of the piñas, is 8 tons of it that they're loading right there. That mountain in the middle that's steaming is a bunch of red hot coals, like a mountain of them, and then rocks on top, and then these pieces of agave, and on top of that they cover it up with dirt, and then they let the smolder sort of die down over the next 3 days. That's the smoky, wonderful taste of mezcal comes from. And we're making, the reason we're working with them is because we're making bottles. Here's 3 examples of the bottles we're making that we made in Pilchuck that are right now at the Copeland del Rio Gallery in Seattle.
And the bottles follow a series that we have been working since Belgium, of this bottle that is drunk, the drunk bottle itself. So it kind of celebrates that spiritual moment when you are under the influence and you see something that you've never seen before, but you might not forget. You might forget.
And we just had an exhibition at this gallery, the combination of the Traver Gallery and the Copeland del Rio. Elena del Rio's here with us as well. And this exhibition just happened, literally closed like a week and a half ago. This is a very, very large piece we called Roma. A little bit about the Romulus Remus kind of thing. Here's the beginning, or is it the end of empire? And this is very much in our minds these days. I don't know why. Couple of pieces.
Two smaller pieces. You remember the title of them?
The one on the left is demasiado, which means too much. Those are little hands coming out of the bottom, reaching for that heart that's kind of nervous. And then the one on the right is called gardening with worms. And that's this piece, the final slide, is the Cheech Museum. That's a permanent, very large lenticular. That's at the Cheech Museum if you visit. We also have a piece to the right, a very large human heart mixed with a nopal that's 12 feet tall. So it's a great museum if you're in the LA area. Come see
The
it.
nopal is cast bronze, one single piece. And the large lenticular mural features a Coatlicue goddess that morphs from being technological with lowrider cars to a completely naturally made Coatlicue goddess.
The duality again. And that's, I think from now on, we're going to take questions. So the microphone will go to the person asking questions, and we will split this one.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, right.
Is the lenticular process time-consuming? It seems like it would take forever. Is it a lot of handwork involved?
So everybody heard that, I hope. Yes, it's a very slow process. I think compared to glass, you need a team of people, and you need everything to be sort of in, really skilled labor, skilled workers helping you. Everything is very intense. So that happens in a much faster when all the stars align. Lenticular work and the mixed media work are things we work on a lot slower. It's literally something that's in process, you get back to it, then keep going. Some lenticular panels can take weeks to put together because they're very large Photoshop documents. And by large, I mean maybe 5 gigabytes per image. So they're just gigantic. We always err on the side of they can always make things smaller, but you can't make them larger in terms of resolution.
Thank you especially for your explanations. It was wonderful to hear you share your thoughts behind some of the pieces. And there's so much thought behind your pieces, whether it's social issues or cultural issues or spiritual issues, and yet you leave it to the viewer to find his own issues, and I might never hear your issues or your thoughts or why you did that or what you were thinking about. How do you feel about that? I'm going to miss a lot of your thoughts and have to. I'm not smart enough to always think about what you were thinking.
I think it's always it's part of the process. The viewer coming in and bringing what their background is to the piece, and to us it's totally fascinating. And sometimes we learn from that, because sometimes you don't really completely understand why I said that you need to do what you need to do, and it's helpful to hear people say they talk about it. But yeah, indeed, our work is like we like to talk about it like an onion, layered onion. So we're exactly the opposite of minimalism. We want to bring everything to the pot, but we also are attempting to make some sense, even if the sense is just an aesthetic statement. To us that in itself is enough. But you know, we collaborate. We work in many different mediums, and we want to have all the stuff in there. But we also, like I said, we also want it to make sense, and we want to have all the elements breathe in terms of good design. That's important to us.
And I wanted to also say that we do a bit of teaching, and what we like to say is that the reason that an artist needs to show their work is to learn about what they made, because we can think of all the possible, possible readings, and there, of course, there's not all of them. It's only the ones we're capable of. So it's very, very useful, and we recommend this to all artists. Go in there and eavesdrop, because when people give you a different reading, it actually is yours now. And it opens your ideas to some of the issues or possible readings. And it just makes your work richer because you're having the points of view that you're unfamiliar with. We had this discussion actually with Annie about curatorially how when you put something up, it could start written, the textual stuff, could start tainting the reading. And she'd rather, and I think I would too, have you see the artwork and then maybe read it, because otherwise the possibility of other readings is going to be lost. It's such a mixed, it's such a difficult problem because people really want to know what it is because they're wondering if they're going to get it wrong. And I would say it's like music. You know what you like. It's okay if you don't like something. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think people are much too worried about right or wrong, when really what we want you is to take any avenue. Go for it. And they sometimes clue us in, because we love to hear that stuff.
Yeah, that will that like you want larger-based people betting on the peaks.
It's basically us. So we have somebody that helps us with the maintenance of the studio in Mexico, and no, it's us really. We don't really have a team of people. No.
Done.
For when we make glass, we like to, like itinerant farmers, we're itinerant glass blowers, in that we go to different shops and we work with different teams, and then we do. Everything from one person helping us to, in a big shop, it'll be 8 people helping us. And that's a very choreographed process, because everybody knows what to do and how to be out of the way. And yet, believe it or not, people hardly ever get burned because they know what they're doing. You need to learn this stuff. So for us, it's probably has to do with why we even collaborate, is because when we were learning in college in Long Beach State University in California, the person blowing glass got help from all the others, so that you would in turn get that kind of help when you make your work. And it is a level of collaboration in that the people you're working with are affecting the way that you're working. The shop, the glass itself is different in different shops, the equipment is different. All of those things affect the way that work is made. And I think that we've done that our whole career. So it's not that we go to another shop and it's painful. We're adapting, and I know they're adapting to us, and it's just that dance. What we all have in common is we know the dance of how to move around, how to convey ideas. Some people wonder why we don't say more when we're working, and that's because everybody kind of knows what to do. So sometimes a little nod and like I'm ready, and you bring them over. And glass is very much like a traffic control in an airport, that you can't have stuff brought to you unless you're ready for it. And the heat has to be exact. So you're literally bringing the two pieces together when they need to be put together, not just when they're ready or when the other. Everything is orchestrated. Anyway, long answer.
Do you have journals and things that you have kept over the years, either to refer back to your techniques or something that you thought about, just for your own personal information? So you have something in writing, and then maybe later on, after you are no longer with us, someone can look at your journals, study your techniques, study your journals, study your techniques, study you as artists.
Yeah, we just recently, a couple of years ago, we got asked to put together our archives for the Smithsonian. So we have to figure out what archive means to us, because all the stuff that we have written, I think maybe the most important component is clearly the sketchbooks, because every single thing you seen here started as a sketch, and the conversation that we had to collaborate started as a sketch. And we have also written stuff that maybe helps clarify how we function together, and our personal ideals as artists as well.
Hi. A lot of your work is very visually relevant to the Americas, of course, but many of the pieces that we have upstairs also have the Asian specific Buddhist influence. So can you speak more about the universality of some of your themes?
Well, I think that between sort of the Hindu pantheon and some of the Buddhist, that kind of maximalist approach is very much we're in tune with. And also the use of color, I think we have it very much in common. It's sort of fearless. I think in Mexico it's kind of fearless in color, and very much you'll see that in a lot of the. We're careful, appropriating is always potentially problematic, but the history of art is the history of appropriation. We also are overly sensitive, I think, sometimes about it, because you don't have anything new unless you mix things up. I think the thing with appropriation is that you need to say something new. You're not just reverberating something that you don't culturally own, and then you're making another version. You're copying, and who are you, and all of these things. I think if you make a new statement, you're grabbing and paying an homage to where that came from, and of course be sensitive enough to listen if there's criticism, and some of it may be valid and some may not. I know I just diverted this conversation to appropriation. But
do you have any monograms of exhibitions that may actually include scaled lenticulars in them?
Not sure what you mean by monograms.
Exhibition books of an exhibition, or
this exhibition has a catalog. That's
but
for
with
sale.
lenticulars.
It has a lenticular on the front cover.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and we also. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
I regret to report I'm very happy the catalog is sold out.
Yeah, there's one contributor, but it's big. We don't love the flies. That's the comment.
After some Brazilian river, right?
Any other questions?
But the store also features a limited edition lenticular print that we have for sale there. That one.
Nerd.
So I think we still have some like secular.
Yeah, and there's body. There's, but,
Sure.
yeah.
Bit.
Can,
Can I yell?
oh, yes, you can go, you can yell.
Some biographical stuff like the older, when did you start working together? What's your story as well?
Yes, we come from a family that had art on both sides of the family. My father was an architect and wanted to be a painter, and my mother had art in her family as well. My grandmother was graduated from CCAC in Berkeley as an illustrator. So in a way, it was inevitable. And on top of that, we have older brothers who already wanted to be artists when we were growing up. And one's a sculptor, one's a painter. Yeah, like I said, it was inevitable for us in a way. You know, there was a point when we were teenagers where it was just the right answer. On top of that, we went to an American high school, and at a time where California had great schools, and we had an absolutely outstanding art teacher that helped us quite a bit. So, so we moved to California, like Einar said, in the 1972. So, well, we grew up on both sides of the border, and was as well we were living on both sides of the border.
Yeah. So, any sibling rivalry or?
Well, we do get asked, do you fight? And that's very natural because we get asked. I mean, the American family is very often a diaspora because people are following their dreams, and in Latin America it tends to be less of that and more family sort of cohesion in that sense. So we do get asked, you know, because people are like, I see my brother every Thanksgiving, and we fight. I hear that a lot. We have disagreements. It happens more than anything when we're making glass. If one of us is not on the same page, we're not agreeing. It's a really awkward moment because we have all these people looking at us. They're waiting for us to you know. And if we're going in different paths, it gets really awkward. But we also know that it doesn't behoove us to hold on to our little fight. You know, it's better to say we're lucky in that we come up with too many ideas. So the fighting doesn't happen over what idea to work on because we're going to work on the idea that we agree to work on. We're both excited by it. And we don't say, well, what about my idea? That doesn't really happen. But we are lucky in that we'll come up, if we're having some mezcal or a glass of wine and discussing projects, we'll come up with more ideas than we need. So that's easy for us. We're lucky that way. That part is not something we would squabble about. Other than that, people do ask us a lot about if anybody specializes. There's some of that, and my brother's maybe more sculptor engineer, because I think sculpture is, of course, engineering. You have to hold things up. I might be more painterly and more. I do photograph. I do the Photoshop stuff, but that doesn't mean that we don't delve in. Glass is pretty organic. We both do both things all the time. We both draw, and we draw on each other's drawings, so the thing gets pretty blurry pretty quickly. But we don't ever think, I did 60% or I did 20%. It's never ever like that. If I'm in our place in the Valle de Guadalupe, if I really have a question, I'll take a picture or just get on a call and say, what do you think of this? If it's something I want to consult. But in general, I don't need to. Collaboration is about trust, and it's about faith in that in the end it's going to be better because we're collaborating. That's the whole point of it. And we are 3.5 years apart.
I think we have,
Oh, okay. I mean, I can yell. You can just shout.
Yeah,
I can shout. I'm very sad to see this exhibit go. It's been very lovely to have it. You were saying that you take the pieces to the printer and get them back. Do you always use the same printer?
or lenticular, so this show has our very first lenticular, which is the triptych of Hans Memling painting that we collaborated with another. We like to collaborate with the masters. They always agree. That one was done in way early, and it was very rudimentary. The ones we're working with now, we developed a relationship in like 2012, 2013, and every time we made new body of work, it just seemed to have gotten better, more defined and refined as to what we want out of that process and the imagery. So now we are working with one printer, and that's how we go. They send us the little file, the little GIF file, and that's our, yes, printed, bring it. It's very expensive process, because it turns out that when you make this and they put the lens on it, they still need to fix things so they print it and throw it out. They print it and throw it out. Even if I was to make, say, 2 of them when I made a piece, they still need to do that for the next one. There's no guarantees that even if they did it once, the same stuff is going to work with the lens. So there's that process is, just sending it out and getting it back is over a month for them.
Go ahead and give them a big round of applause. Yeah.